Hey everybody. I believe in the last video I left off with my first job, and I believe it was having to throw away clothing items that I had bought, and also personal care items due to those not being approved at home. So I guess we'll try to take it from there. Alright, so at that point, I'm 14 and a half, almost 15. I believe I delved into a little bit the fact that we had a couple of other people living at the house as well, and so, that was definitely straining. These kids that were living there, they had been through some things as well, and so they already had their own sets of emotional problems and things like that that they came packaged with when they came to stay with us, and of course I came with a big ball of emotions as well, unable to know what to really do with those. So the household was kind of just a big barrel of dynamite waiting for a match to light it. So during this process of all of us getting used to each other, me kind of learning the in and outs of schoolwork and balancing that with having a job. I also took on the responsibility of paying for my own phone line at home. So at the time, for anyone who's watching this that's not as old as I am, cell phones weren't really like a thing for common folk back in the day. Pagers were more of the norm, but if you didn't have a pager, and or either you didn't have the money to get one, or you just didn't have one, whatever the case. Whereas you still had landlines at home, and you could actually have separate landlines set up at your house, much like you can now. I mean, you can have those set up now. And let's not forget that the old glory days of the first rounds of the internet, having to plug in that phone line, so we all had to have kind of those landlines, the first go of internet, which, by the way, my household as a child, we never had while I lived at home. That was never a thing. So other people had it. It wasn't like it wasn't a thing. Other people had it. We never had it. And more to the point, honestly, I don't think we had cable the whole time either. I think we had cable for a while. But I think that eventually got dropped down to like the bare essentials, because I mean, eventually things started getting, the prices started going up a little bit, and which even now by today's standards is next to nothing, but that's neither here nor there. Right, when I first started my job, I actually set up my own landline in my room, and I paid for my own phone to have it, and so I could call friends or what have you. Basically just so I didn't have to ask to use the phone, really. I mean, I still had to, as far as hours go, I couldn't be on after a certain time or whatever, but for the most part, the phone was in my name. I paid the bill every month. So yeah, at 15, I had a phone that I paid for. And then, of course, what clothing I was allowed to wear, I bought my own. I mean, I didn't buy all of my toiletries and whatnot. I still relied somewhat on BioMom for that, but overall, I still bought a good portion of my stuff. And of course, being a kid, I blew a lot of my stuff as well too. So like the good old days of Columbia Records, and I don't know, 100 CDs for a penny or something. I don't know, something ridiculous. But yeah, we all got sucked into that stuff, and yeah, so I bought an an obscene amount of CDs that eventually I couldn't listen to anymore, not because of technology, but because BioMom took a lot of the music and broke it. So at school, I became quite the loner, really sticking to myself a lot. Kept my head down a lot. I didn't have a whole lot of friends, and the few friends that I did have, I didn't really discuss anything deep. It was all surface level, which, again, as a kid, there's not a whole lot of depth to a lot of things. Which, everything at teenage years feels like life and death. And, to an extent it is, because that's, that isn't in and of itself your entire world. But I also felt pretty mature for my age, considering the things that I had been through and the things that I had had to deal with, on top of navigating the fact that I was, trying not to be the real me, walking that fine line always, whether I was at home or out in public, and then, making friends with people, trying to be the person that I was supposed to be. That way I could continue to keep up that facade, because if I made too many different people, it was just too confusing for me. So I had to stick to the one person that was most similarly close to what everyone wanted me to be, i.e., family, and then kind of mold that into what best suited my friends, or how to make friends. I was still pretty terrible at it, though. Awkward and quiet, and this is absolutely absurd for me, even now, to this day. This is the most frightening thing I could possibly think of. I'm going to be quite honest with you. To be this open and this frank with however many people eventually see this, or however many people are talking about this or sharing this, or this is absolutely insanely terrifying. This is not who I am. I don't share these kinds of things so openly and freely for the world. So this is very scary for me. I couldn't even I couldn't stand out at school at all. If I did, I was like, can someone please shove me in a locker? Because I really I don't want to be, I don't want to draw attention to myself. But also, too, with that, I also found a huge amount of relief in comedy, and I found that hiding your pain is super easy when you make everybody else laugh around you. And the easiest way is to start making a fool of yourself with people around you, so they laugh at you, and then eventually laugh with you, and they don't question things. You can joke about painful things, and they laugh it off, and it's much easier to get through things. So I coded everything that I could possibly coat in over-exaggeration of these wild antics, and anything to get a laugh out of somebody. And I figured that with, not only did I, was I trying to mask all the sadness and pain and the hurt, but also too, it made me feel really good to make people laugh. It made me feel good to make people happy around me, because that was something that I was lacking sorely, deep within me, and I couldn't find it no matter how hard I tried, and no matter how hard I made other people laugh. I couldn't find that for myself. So I found immense amount of joy in making people laugh. Now, with that being said, although I was really goofy and ridiculous, and even still to this day, I absolutely enjoy being ridiculous, and I have some real zingers every so often. Um, I do my best to distance myself from using that as a crutch. Um, I mean, not, at least not as heavily as I used to when I was younger, when I was a child, because um, I threw everything and everything that I felt. The best way for me, that I've always described it, and more to the point, when I described it to my therapist, I packed all these things in these neat little boxes, much like when you're moving, and I labeled them out in my head, and I shoved them off into a corner where they got dusty, and then ever so often, much like you do when you move and then you forget about boxes and you find them, open it up and take out everything that's inside, check it all out, realize, oh crap, I don't need this, and then you try to put it back in, but it never fits the way that you initially had it packed in. And that's kind of how I always described it, was just that I had all these things packed away in these neat little boxes, but just because it's packed away in a little box, I mean, eventually those closets, they get full, and you can no longer shut the door, and then those boxes come tumbling out, and then you've got to figure out which box they go in, or better yet, you just don't put them back into a box, and you learn how to deal with them properly. But it took me a long time to figure that out. A really long time. This is still pretty fresh for me for dealing with it. Probably within the I've been seeing a therapist for about I don't know, 5-6 years maybe, and compare that to the amount of years that I was learning how to not spend every day wanting to slit my wrists, or run away, or be so depressed that I can't move, or be so angry that I turned into some psychotic murderer or something awful, and not, lose every ounce of humanity that I had. When you feel very alone and you feel very sad, while that all seems a little far-fetched, really breaking that down, I mean, it's really not, considering the fact that, humans need interaction, they need love, they need affection, they need reassurance and stability, and those are human emotions, human needs. That's kind of what sets us apart. Not only our brains and our abilities to break things down and learn from our mistakes, which a lot of us do not, but not just these guys here, right? I mean, thumbs are great to have, but we are complex creatures that require the complexity that we are. We try to shove that away. We try to change that. We try to make that different. We try to make us robots that just go. Eventually, something inside breaks. Something snaps. So, I mean, that's what happens. At school, I got into a lot of fights. Mostly, I usually, I would say 99.9% of the time, actually, I don't know that I ever actually started a fight. I might have, but I don't recall one. I know there was a lot of times where fights were instigated to me, and I generally just backed off as best I could, or cowered down, or and a lot of that was not because I felt like I couldn't fight back, because I could have, and I was not a small kid by any means. I mean, I was thick, and I was solid, and I was in pretty good physical shape. Um, and I very much could have fought back every single time, and I don't know that I would have won every single time, but I was quite certain that if I had fought back, I would have certainly hurt a lot of these people much, much worse than what these fights were going to end up being to begin with. Not because I'm so much stronger than all these other people. I wasn't some bodybuilder in school and middle school or high school. I wasn't a bodybuilder, but I had a lot of rage. And rage can empower you just the same as, being scared. Or, when you hear those stories about, people being able to lift cars in certain scenarios all by themselves, and under normal circumstances they can't do these types of things, but it's almost like superhuman strength when they have these things that are pushing them. And if I had allowed myself to fight back, it wouldn't have just been fighting that person. I would have been fighting everything that I was angry about, because I wasn't ever able to release it. So everything would have come flooding out of me, and I couldn't have lived with myself if I had hospitalized somebody, or even potentially killed somebody. And that, it's a scary reality that I live with, that I was carrying so much anger and so much frustration and so much turmoil within myself, that I knew without a shadow of a doubt that had I let that loose at all, I very well could have been living in a completely different life. I mean, the world that I lived in anyway wasn't great. The city that I grew up in, the town that I grew up in. I mean, you could get almost any type of drug anytime you wanted it, at any time, anywhere in the town, almost from anybody. So drugs were rampant, and both in and outside of school. I mean, not that that's an uncommon thing, but we're talking 90s, and while drugs have always been an issue, pretty much everywhere, we had some pretty serious drugs rolling through, and easy to get our hands on, easy. And there's a lot of addiction going on in that town, a lot. A lot of addiction going on in my family. Um, with it being somewhat, I would think, genetic, on top of, any mental health issues that people may have. Um, it's a scary thing. I could have very well ended up living completely different than what I ended up as. So I never really fought back. There were a couple of times that I, shoved back, or just enough to, not get punched in the face or whatever it was, but I never really fought, and that was the reason. And I never told that to anybody when I was younger, because I felt like people would probably think I was crazy, and, try to lock me up, because, I mean, who says that as a kid that they think they might kill somebody if they fight them, right? I mean, but, that also makes me think that recognizing the amount of emotional hurt that I had at such a young age. I mean, I was able to recognize that at such a young age. I knew that I was so angry that I could do some serious damage. And that's I would say that's pretty mature for a young person to know that and to not act on it. But I was still struggling in school. I was still doing terribly in my grades. The things that I excelled in were art. Because I just, that was kind of my forte. So I really enjoyed art, and English really came easy to me, so I did really well in that. But outside of that, pretty much everything else, I really struggled hard with. I don't know if it was just from, when everything happened initially, but I do know that, on top of the initial thing happening with adoptive father's family, when I was in middle school, I had a really good friend, and it was like one of the few times that I was ever able to go to somebody's house, and I was super excited, right? Like, but not being, I'm not believing I'm actually able to go to somebody's house and have a good time, right? Because I'm just not, that's not really, I don't go anywhere, I don't stay at anybody's house, and don't really, I don't go anywhere to hang out, so I got really excited. I went over to my best friend's house, and she lived with her grandparents at the time, and it was on the opposite side of town from where I lived, but I mean, it would literally take about 2.5 minutes to get there. I mean, that's how far it is, right? Very close. In any case, we go over there. Where the house that she stayed in was right next to like this big parking lot, and so we all like hung out in the parking lot for ever, just out there goofing off and with some of the neighbor kids too, and just having a really good time. And it was something that I had never done before, so I was really excited about it. And I don't remember much else other than that evening. The house was really small, and it was her and her sister, I believe, and I believe that they shared a room, and they had bunk beds. And then that night, I believe my friend and her sister, I think, were sharing the bottom bunk and let me have the top bunk that night when I stayed the night. Her grandfather came in to tell us good night that night, and he tried to French kiss me. And I remember being completely shocked and not knowing what to do, because I was like, what the did that really happen? Or like, was that like I mean, he's old, like what the heck is going on? And so I was like, okay. And so then I was kind of afraid to go to sleep for the rest of the night, right? So I'm laying there in the bed, and I tried to stay awake as long as I could. I pressed my back against the wall, and I scooted back as far as I could to get as far away as I could, and curled the blankets up and all that good stuff. And I remember my friend asking me the next day, I don't remember exactly what happened or how we got into the conversation of it, but I remember her asking, did my grandpa kiss you last night? Good night. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, did he try to stick his tongue in your mouth? And I was like, yeah, how did you know that? And she's like, he tried us to do that to me too. And she's like, I'm really sorry. I didn't know he was going to do that to you. So I'm thinking, my best friend already, doesn't have, has to live with her grandparents. And then on top of that, this is apparently such a common occurrence that she felt open enough to just ask me outright and then apologize for his actions. And that just, it stunned me. One, because I felt really bad. I mean, what do you do in that situation? And then two, I also was not wanting to go over there anymore, because it's like I had a really good time, but then, I'm not going back over there. Out of your mind. I'm not doing it. What if I have to go in and use the bathroom, even when I'm playing over there? Or what if I have to come in to get a drink of water? I'm not doing that. No way. I'm not coming in that house. And then I felt really bad, because it's like, I'm leaving my friend over there in this, all of this, and what do I do? What do I say? I remember telling someone, but I don't remember if it was Bio Mom, and I don't remember who I told. I just remember I told somebody. And I don't really know what happened to that friend. I don't remember what happened to our friendship, which is even more sad. But I genuinely hope that her life turned out well, and that she was able to get out of that situation, and that it didn't continue, because that was a pretty sad situation indeed. But in any case, yeah, so, that was before I got my job. I got my job. I had a different friend. This friend was in high school, and I, at that time, had been, recently, I believe let's see, I believe in middle school, I think it was in middle school, I was given the opportunity. I think it was for 7th grade, maybe? I don't know. Something like that. I think it had to be for middle school. But I got the opportunity, the one and only time that I got to do something extracurricular, and I was given the opportunity to either go for our class trip, which was in Washington, D.C., or I could take karate classes, which is something that I was really, really, really into when I was younger. And I thought about it, and then I chose karate, because I thought, well, DC's only once, and karate I can do for a long time, and I'll be, really happy about that. And then I started taking it. I really enjoyed it. And then we got a paper saying that I was going to have to pay to take my first test so I could get my first belt. And then I was hit with, on your first report card, if you get anything below a C, we're taking you out of karate. And obviously that had been an issue since like 3rd grade. Yep, I got taken out. I took the test and I passed it, but we never paid the money to get the belt, and we never paid the money for anything else, and I got taken out. So yeah, that got taken away, and that was the one and only time that I got something extracurricular. And I would like to say that I screwed it up for myself, but really I did not. That wasn't my fault. And the one ounce of joy that a kid has in their life, that's probably doing them some really good. Yeah, you shouldn't take that away. But yeah, it got taken away, and more depression sets in, and more resentment sets in, and yeah, so then you've got this very angry, very frustrated, very depressed teenager who is full of hormones, not sure what's going on, has already came out to you that they like girls, and you are denying that, and trying to put everything about them away. And then on top of that, uh, basically abusing them for having emotions about it, and emotions for things that have happened previously. Now, I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead real quick and say that as an adult, I found out, I don't remember this, so I'm putting it in here now, but I found out as an adult that apparently I was given an option to go to therapy when I was younger, and I chose not to. Now, my concern with this is that one, if you're going to give me the option to go to therapy and I choose not to, but you won't give me the option on what clothes I feel like I'm comfortable in, I feel like that's a problem. I don't feel like that's necessarily an option. I feel like you were trying to not have to pay for it, and you knew a kid wasn't going to want to go talk about these things because, again, who wants to go to go through a lie detector test at 9 years old when someone makes it sound scary? They knew they weren't going to actually have to make me go to one. That's why they offered it. That's why they said that. That's why they put it the way that they did. So I don't remember being offered. I don't recall that at all. But if that in fact happened and I declined it, again, I wasn't allowed to wear what I felt comfortable in. I wasn't allowed to be who I felt comfortable being. Why on earth are you saying now suddenly, oh, well, I gave you the option and you chose not to? That makes total sense. Yeah, you can't put that shit on me. That's not how it works. So, again, take that for what you will, but, yeah, so I never went to therapy. I do remember going into the therapy office, but that was for my stepbrother and sister. They had some things going on that they needed to discuss, and we went there for them. And I remember going in there, and I'm fairly certain I was asked about their situation, and that was pretty much it. But I don't remember anything else. I barely remember that, and I honestly don't know if that's even what they asked me about. I mean, my memory on that is very, very vague. So I'm certainly not trying to be misleading in that, but in any case, yeah. So at this point, I'm not really gay. I don't really like the things that I like. I'm not really angry, but it is my choice to go to therapy, and I don't really want to go. And yeah, and I'm still doing poorly in school, and because of the fact, I would assume, the amount of emotions and things that I really had no idea on how to deal with those. So those things on top of, the depression, and then being in school, being a teenager, and then working kind of crazy hours because I was working a lot more than what I was supposed to work. I was pretty much just tired all the time. I stayed tired a lot, so I would fall asleep a lot in my room trying to do homework. I purposely took study hall so I could finish homework that I didn't get to finish, and a lot of times I would fall asleep in there, because I just didn't get enough sleep, and I was having bad dreams at night. I had a really bad problem wetting the bed when I was younger. I was a bedwetter for a really long time. I mean, a really long time. Way longer than most people probably do. Um, I mean, geez, I wet the bed for a long time. Um, I think I also sucked my thumb for a lot longer than most people do too. I think that was yeah, I think those were some, like, serious signs for me. I sucked my thumb for a long time, and I wet the bed for a long time. But, I mean, I even wet the bed up to the point that I was getting up, changing my sheets, taking a shower, washing my sheets, going back to bed. Yeah, it was bad. Um, yeah. So that happened, and then, yeah, staying tired all the time from work, and then school, and emotional issues, and all the things in my head and everything going on, and it was really hard to deal with. So I was tired a lot, and then I remember one particular time. I remember that bio mom came in my room, and I had fallen asleep doing my homework, and she woke me up by screaming at me and telling me that I needed to get my ass up and go and do the dishes in the kitchen. And why is it that I'm always falling asleep? And I just told her that I was tired, and that wasn't a good enough answer. So she spun me around, grabbed me by the shirt, looked me dead in the eyes, this close to my face, and told me that she thought that I was on drugs. She wanted to know if I was doing speed, which I wasn't. And I told her no, I haven't done anything. And then she said that she was going to get a drug test, and I told her that's fine, do a drug test, I don't care. That I was just tired. And she screamed at me, and she's like, well, it's not normal for somebody to be falling asleep all the time. And then she ended up one second. Hold on, the door keeps coming open. She ended up telling me that she was gonna get a drug test. I told her that was fine. Was, I think, kind of pissed her off, and she let me get back to doing dishes, and said that that wasn't a normal thing, and was just really pissed off about it, me falling asleep. I know that I was pretty upset about it. I remember being really upset because not only did she spin me around and jerk me up on my shirt and accuse me of being on drugs, but here I am. I felt like I'm a pretty good kid, and I'm going to work, I'm just doing normal stuff, and I'm getting accused of being on drugs. And I'm like, don't you get it? Like, don't you get it? You can't get it? It's not obvious? It's gotta be drugs? Really? Okay. Alright. So, yep. Chores around my house were, I think, more strict than the Nazi regime. Because, you get woke up with a vacuum right next to your head on the weekends. Didn't matter how tired you were. Didn't matter if you had stuff going on. Didn't matter. You weren't going to be some lazy teenage kid or some lazy kid, period. You know, I mean, I once got in trouble because I was getting screamed at, and I can't remember what I was getting screamed at about. So many times. But in this particular situation, I can't remember what I was getting screamed at. Bio Mom was standing in the doorway of the kitchen, and I was standing over by the cabinets, and she was screaming and screaming and screaming, and it was just, she was so pissed about something, and I don't remember what it was, but mad as hell. And I was looking at her, she was yelling, and then I looked down at the ground, and when I did that, apparently she mistook that for me rolling my eyes at her, which was the biggest and most ridiculous thing that I could have possibly done to her. So she, I mean, like a freaking ninja, comes across that kitchen, jerks me up on my shirt, slams me into the glass cabinets, almost bust a glass out. Bangs my head up against them, bangs me up against them. She holds me up, and she yells in my face, spitting all over my face, yells in my face, tells me if I ever roll my eyes at her again, she'd take me out. And then proceeded to let go. She opened up these cabinets, which these cabinets were like probably a good 3.5 foot doors, and so behind the two doors, they were glass, and then behind the two doors were just like shelves. It was an old school kitchen, and all of the shelves, of course, had tons of cups, plates, Tupperware, everything that you normally keep in a kitchen. And she then reaches up, pulls literally everything out into the floor and onto the countertop. Just starts chucking it everywhere into the kitchen. Everything up there, everything down below, which was pots and pans, baking and cooking utensils. I mean, the pots, pans, and cookie sheets and all that stuff. Pulls all of that stuff out. I'm talking the whole freaking kitchen was just a disastrous mess. And she pulls it all out, throws it all in the floor and everywhere, and she just has it I'm talking, we had so much stuff. We had a family of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. So there was a lot of stuff. And a lot of stuff you don't need. I mean, think about it. There's a lot of stuff in people's homes that you don't necessarily need. All of that came out of the cabinetry. And she told me that I was to wash, rinse, dry, and put up all of that before the end of the day. And that was going to be my punishment for rolling my eyes. I also saw her on numerous occasions take the trash can and dump trash on top of my stepbrother's bed for not taking the trash out. Literally trash. The whole trash. Would walk into his room, and it didn't matter if he was sitting on the bed. She would dump the damn trash on top of his bed. Just dump it. Yep. And almost with a theatrical want people to see it. Like, you're allowed to come watch. And it's okay if you hear a snicker or two. I never thought it was funny. It wasn't funny. Because I knew how scary it was and how insane this person could be. There was another time at one point, again, teenager, and me and stepsister, well, all of us had went to the local fair, which is, nothing, right? Couple little rides there, and get to pet some goats. On the Scrambler or something, I think we were riding it. Me and stepsister were in a thing together. and she was flirting or something with the dude running it. And, of course, I'm kind of laughing it off because I'm like, guy looks like he's been strung out for a couple of years, and I'm thinking she's just doing it because she wants to get a free ride or something. And I'm not going to let anything happen, or at least I don't think I'm going to let anything happen. And I mean, bio mom and stepfather are there, so I guess, if anything goes really south, I think it's kind of funny, but I'm not doing it. That's crazy. The guy looks scary. Well, apparently, bio mom saw her flirting, and she saw me laughing and thought that I was flirting. I already came out, by the way. And decided that we were going to get punished for that. So, on our way back to the car, Kristen, stepsister, was back talking, and I guess just not really going for it and not wanting to listen to what bio mom had to say, and she got slapped in the face pretty hard. And I got a look that if I said anything, I was going to get hit, which I never did say anything. The next day, we got up, and we were given buckets and rags, and then rags and scrub brushes, and we were told that we were supposed to go outside and scrub the house down, the outside of the house down. And she'd let us know when it was clean enough. And I was super pissed because, one, I didn't do anything, and then two, it's like, man, I was always getting in trouble, even if I didn't do anything. But I just thought it was absurd because, it's like freaking middle of July, hot as hell, and we gotta stand out there and scrub this damn house down, which, by the way, this was not, like, vinyl siding outside. It's the old crappy aluminum or whatever white metal siding that when you wipe it, all the freaking white comes off of it, and it just looks freaking gross. And so you just touching it is gross, and it was nasty, and it wasn't an easy cleaning of anything. You were just wiping paint off the house. I don't know. It was stupid. So, anyway, there's some of the stuff there, and that should bring us up pretty close to going into the last bits of high school, which are pretty important, and those are going to have to take place on a different video. But essentially, still not a very good student. Yeah, but still trying to make myself small. I'm also dating boys, by the way. So there's that. Next time, kids. You guys have a good one, and we'll delve into the middle to last bit of high school on the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye.